Welcome back to the Homeschool Advantage podcast. I'm your host, Bex Buzzy. Today, we have CEO and founders of Denison Algebra, David and Elli Denison. David and Elli are a husband and wife team. David has been teaching for 21 years, 11 in the public school and 10 in the homeschool arena. And Elli does the business side of everything. They homeschool their 5 daughters, and each one is so different, especially in their love and not so much love of math. In this episode, David and Elli talk about their journey homeschooling their 5 girls on opposite sides of the love of math, what his inspiration was to start Denison Algebra, and his passion to help others to go from I can't do it to I can do it. We're going to be talking about the importance of parents locking arms with their kids and allowing the learning experiences to potentially heal and redeem the time. How math can build confidence in your child and the domino effect it can cause. And how not to blame yourself if your kid just doesn't like a subject. Even experts go through that. So go grab your coffee, go grab your tea, and a pen and paper, because you're not going to want to miss what David and Elli have to say. Let's get into the podcast.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you for having us on your show, Bex. We're glad to be here. My name's David Denison, and
I'm Elli.
My wife, Elli, here. We get to run the business together. My background is teaching math, and Elli's background is business, so she gets to run that side of the company. So we get to do this full time together. And we've also been homeschooling our 5 daughters in 10 or 11 years, I guess. So probably one of the biggest misconceptions I run across, particularly in regards to math and high school math, is that parents tend to disqualify themselves or feel like they're unqualified to teach their own child, or that maybe they're going to mess their child up. Just my take on it is, first of all, the parent is the best teacher for their child. They know their child the best. They can teach their child to engage in the world and actually think. So even regardless of your level of comfort with the subject, you are definitely the best teacher for your student. And I've just found also that as a high school, particularly parents tend to be real hesitant about teaching like Algebra 1, for instance, because they were bad at it. But as an adult, when parents go back and can look at some well-written algebra curriculum, they can absolutely understand it and probably even enjoy it and have some healing process themselves and take their child through the course as well. So I just love it when parents dig into a subject they feel intimidated about and just find success for themselves and for teaching their students.
You're right. A lot of parents do think that they're going to mess their kids up, but the truth is that they can learn with their students. They can learn with their child. And what homeschool does is bring everyone together where they're now a unit. They're a unit together, learning together, growing together. And when they even see their family, their parents persevere, how powerful is that? If they're watching their own parent persevere, I'm pretty sure in a child's mind, if they see their parent overcome, they have then the confidence to say, I can do anything. I can do anything.
And I got to experience a little bit of this because David's the math guy. He studied math. He's great at math. I studied English and literature and political science, and that was my field of study. I was scared of math all growing up, all through high school. And so if you had told me when I was 17 that I was going to help co-found and run a math company, I would have thought you were crazy. But here we are all these years later, and part of what I do is watch the videos after David records them just to make sure the sound doesn't cut out or whatever. So I have been learning math, and it has been a really healing thing for me because I hated math. I cried through my math classes. It cost me a lot of stress. And as I was watching these videos, I was thinking, wait a second, can do math. I know this stuff. And it just was kind of a healing thing for me. And it culminated with one of our daughters who was taking our class. She had a question and went looking for her dad, and he wasn't home or was in the garage, or I don't know where he was. And I said, wait, I can do that. And she said, you can? I said, yes, I can. And I looked at her stuff. I could answer her algebra 1 question. I was so proud of myself. So if I can do it, any parent can do it.
That's an awesome story. So what makes your math so different from other maths? Like, what do you have a certain focus that you target in your curriculum?
I think this kind of harkens back to my public school teaching, and what I took from that was, well, the strengths of my public school teaching was I got to see my students every day, and I just consistently taught them every day. And then I also took, textbooks that were real difficult to understand, and I put them in plain English, because I was just teaching to a large classroom, and I had to put it in ways that they could understand. And that was really where kind of I honed my math teaching skills. And when I got in the homeschool world, I noticed that tended to be absent, that particularly good daily instruction was difficult to come across. I didn't like the way a lot of the math books were written. All curriculums have their strengths and their weaknesses. I just ended up tutoring a lot of students and helping students who struggle. And what I found was these students were not bad at math. They weren't dumb. They weren't, they didn't have issues, other than there was just some sensible things that weren't in place. And that began to frustrate me. And I thought, I'm going to write my own. I wanted good daily instruction, that kids could sit down and get a properly spaced lesson that didn't have too much stuff packed in there, so that they can get it in one sitting. So I wanted to have daily video instruction. So I built that into my course. I wanted students to have a physical textbook, so that they could, these are students that tend to struggle. It helps them to have the physical book, so they can look back at what they've learned before, because they might easily forget what yesterday's lesson was or last week's lesson was. So I want them to have a physical book with notes and assignments right there that they could look at. And then I wanted them to have a way to get help even at home for problems they didn't understand how to work. So I wrote a curriculum where I also recorded solutions videos, so they could go and watch every homework problem. They could watch me explain it, right? Almost like having a little built-in tutor there. And those were really the big things that I was struggling to find in curriculum. And I used for my own kids, I jumped to every curriculum under the sun, trying to find the perfect one. And there really is not a perfect curriculum. Is what finally, after spending untold amounts of dollars on curriculum, there just is not a perfect curriculum, until I wrote mine. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so those were the things. I wanted a few of those elements in place that I just felt like struggling students, that it just really helps them to have those things in place.
Yeah, videos are awesome. And I actually create videos on my Canvas course at times, so that way students can pause, rewind, go back and listen to it again. Because even us as adults, right? Like, how many times do we have to hear sometimes the same thing and then be like, oh, that's right. There's just that click moment. Our neurons have to make that little connection. And sometimes it just doesn't happen the first time because it's new information. And math does need to be practiced every day. And I love what you said, you space everything out.
This goes back to my time just in the classroom, in a public classroom. And I think, as a public school teacher too, when you're just engaged in a classroom of students, you just can realize you've reached this point of, whoa, we just put too much stuff in there. Like, they are not going to get any more. You get a real good sense of how much your average high school kid can sit and take in one sitting. And so when you get a homeschool curriculum and you open a lesson, and it'll tend to have, particularly in math, a lot too much stuff in it in just one sitting. And so I just now, even when I'm recording my video lessons, there are a number of times I stop it because I think, okay, I know I just reached that point where that kid is going to tune me out. It's just too much. And I go back and rewrite the lesson. And I just have a real good feel for what I feel like a typical student can sit and take in one sitting. So I try to build my lessons just right for what I feel like your typical non-mathy, math resistant, math is not my favorite subject. I just want to get it over with. Let me get to it. Let me do it, get it over with without a lot of pain. So I try to just do that balance of we need to get this much in, but I have a good feel for, well, this is a little too much. We're gonna back that off. And that's how I built them.
That's really cool. So was your inspiration your public school?
It actually came from the homeschool arena. I did not intend to write my own homeschool curriculum. My mother-in-law actually would, when we started homeschooling, would always say, "Oh, you're going to write your own stuff." I'm like, no, that is not what I'm doing. I want to homeschool my own girls, because I quit public school teaching and became a full-time homeschool dad. So I did the homeschooling of all my girls, and they were in elementary school. So we were in the whole elementary school world. But then I began tutoring and teaching in co-ops. When people found out that I taught high school math, it was, oh, we need some help with that. And that's really where it started, when I started digging into homeschool students and where they were struggling. And then also my own daughters, I have the full spectrum of math students within my own 5 daughters. I've got the math is easy and it's my favorite subject, and can we start with math student, all the way to the I hate math with a passion. It's terrible. I'm going to fight you every day on it. And I just want to say to parents that if you have a student like that, do not blame yourself. If math is a complete mess, I am literally a professional math teacher, and I have a daughter. I mean, our math is a complete mess. It ends in frustration, and we finally just made it through Algebra 1, finally, after a very long ordeal. So I just want to encourage you that, it just can happen for a variety of reasons. And it's not something you need to blame yourself, because it happened to me.
That is so funny. And you're the math guy. So parents, did you hear that? He even said that, him being a math guy has all his daughters. One loves it and wants to start with it. And there's one that's just like, no. So it has nothing to do with you, parents. It just has to do with where your child is, their likes and dislikes. And every child's going to be very, very individual. So there's no need to go there and blame yourself. You just need to do your thing and move forward, and don't even worry about it. And that's the beauty of homeschooling, right?
Yeah. And just to finish that too, I didn't actually answer your question. When I realized my daughter, who really hated math, she needed even more accommodations than my standard level courses. They just weren't meeting her needs. And that inspired us to start a new level of courses called our success courses, that took into account learning challenges, additional learning challenges and struggles. And so we built, a separate component. We have our standard level courses for your typical, math is not my favorite subject kind of student, or maybe there's some gaps and things like that, to our success series, which are for the students that, really need a lot of support. And I really spread things out. And so she was my own daughters were the inspiration for that as well.
Oh, wow. So your math course, who can it benefit? It sounds like it could benefit a wide variety of students.
Yeah, that's and really, my target, no math curriculum is going to service every kind of student out there. I mean, they're just not. And so my standard courses, the students that I really like to target are just the ones who have lost their math confidence for whatever reason. And math it's become a pain point. And so, I love to get them back on track and get them their confidence back. Math might not end up being their favorite subject, but it stops being the subject, like just a painful subject, and we get through it without tears. That's really one of my main goals. And then just when we found, some extra learning challenges in our own home, and we started digging around for things that would help and accommodate her, we just found that there weren't a lot of things out there that were specifically targeted. There are a lot out there that say good for this kind of learner who really struggles with this. And, there are extra learning challenges that students have, ADHD and dyscalculia and dysgraphia and, just a
Wow.
variety of processing challenges. And there weren't, I struggled to find curriculum that specifically addressed those things. So that started our success series of math, where I take those things into account and really started and wrote some courses for those students to help them get through Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, the high school level courses.
Have you had like any testimonies, like any students come to you guys and say, like, I have changed my mind on math?
Just this past week, have had several encouraging communication with parents. I have on those success level courses. I just had a call me yesterday, and her son, he's on the autistic spectrum, just a little bit, not real heavily, but enough to really affect his academics. And he took my success courses, and she said he is all about math now. And he's enrolling in a community college in kind of a special program that they have, but he wants to do accounting now. She said it just hit him at the right time and encouraged him. And he was able to get through Algebra 1 when his peers, in high school were doing Algebra 1. He was able to do Algebra 1. Even though mine's kind of a modified course, it's still the Algebra 1 topics. Same with geometry. He took geometry, and now he's graduated and he's going to go begin at a community college, but he actually wants to take my Algebra 2 course, my success course. We're going to release that soon. And so he's waiting to take that. So that was just kind of a neat thing that hit him and his family right at the right time. And I also just, even with my standard courses, I got a graduation invitation
Oh,
from one
wow.
of my students that I had her in 7th grade. And her mom came to me and said, she tries really hard, but math that's a really weak subject for her. And, just be aware of that. And she just graduated, and she's going to college and going to major in biomolecular chemistry or something like that. And so I was just she was a hardworking student. And so, and I didn't have her for all those years, but I had her for several of the high school. I had her for 7th grade, and then she did something different for 8th grade. And then she was back in my world for several years there. And I was just able to give her just good practical daily instruction that allowed her to really grab hold of it and regain her confidence. And now, now she's majoring in a STEM major and has no problem with math at all. And part of that was her diligence and her work. My curriculum's not magic or anything, but it just allowed her the freedom to regain her confidence, and math was not such an overwhelming thing anymore.
And that's huge, because confidence is everything. Honestly, like when you can gain your confidence back, it's like you're able to scale mountains, honestly. And as a teenager, when you gain your self-confidence back and you're moving forward in a topic like math, where it just seems like, whoa. And now both of them are in careers that are heavily math. I mean, accounting and biochemistry. I mean, I studied biochemistry. I remember how much math there was in there. I totally remember that. And wow, that's got to feel so good, like to know that, the hard work you're putting in is literally changing people's trajectory in their life. That's a big deal. And that's actually, for me, it's one of the reasons why I really do love homeschooling, because a child's able to work out their learning differences and not in a public in a public way where they're in front of so many people who potentially can make fun of them, or a teacher who gets frustrated because this one kid can't get it but all the other ones can, like, why can't you get it, and I've seen that happen, but here in this arena, a child's able to learn and take their time and build that confidence. I mean, and look at what happened there. Like, biochemistry is not something to sneeze about, and being an accountant either. So, and your student was on the autistic spectrum, even though a little bit, but still that does do something. So that's amazing. That's amazing. I give you guys lots of kudos. As we're wrapping up, is there, one thing you want to leave families with that, you want them to take away from this conversation?
That homeschool is, especially if you're new to homeschooling and don't realize it, it's so much different than when we were growing up. It was very uncommon then, and I don't think there were a lot of resources, but now I am continually amazed at what's available for our own kids and just homeschoolers in general. All kinds of co-ops for things that we don't like. We're not artists, for instance.
No.
But we can go to a co-op and enroll our girls into an amazing art class where they're taught by an extremely talented person to draw or do pottery, or they play sports. There are so many opportunities, so many groups, so many resources. So to not feel like you're out on your own, or there's nothing, they're missing out, because they don't have to miss out. There are all kinds of things available, and that's really cool. And homeschooling community is really great. You can ask a question in a group and you will get, especially if you express, I'm really struggling with this, does anybody have any ideas? You'll get so much encouragement and great ideas, and I love that about the homeschool community.
Me too. So what's the call to action? Where can they find you guys, and where can they get your courses?
Okay, the best place is our website. It's denisonalgebra.com. Denison has one N, so DENISON algebra.com. And that it explains all our courses and has sample videos so you can see the lessons, and the table of contents, kind of get a pacing guide, kind of get an idea for what is in each course. And and we have blogs, just to encourage parents and help with specific math topics. So David writes a blog. And
what is it called? Do you have the name of the blog?
Oh, it's just on our website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
there's just
blog on the website. Cool.
Mm-hmm. And we also have a Facebook page. We post every day on our Facebook page. And please email us if you have any questions. support@denisonalgebra.com. We're happy to help answer any questions, help you figure out maybe what course is best for your student, if we can help in any way like that.
Awesome. Well, Elli and David, thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you for just sharing your testimony, sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, and just all the things that you guys have done for this community and you continue to do. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Beck.
We appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Homeschool Advantage podcast, where you get the scoop on all the latest vendors that fit your lifestyle. Thanks for listening. Also, follow me wherever you listen to your podcast to stay up to date on the next episode. You can also visit my website where the episodes will be, and for my free lesson plan course, which can help you if you have different vendors and you're wondering, how do I make them all flow together? Let me help you with that. And if you're a vendor and you think you would like to be on the podcast, send me an email, realedtalk@gmail.com. Leave me your name, contact, website, and I'll get back to you. Thanks for stopping in with me, and I'll see you on the next time.